burnt for that was like extremely profitable. Once they were up a few X's, they just dumped it.
Yeah, that was pretty common. And so just so you know, Crypto Audi,
Yep.
we have the Moon Math calculator. We got 3 sections on it we'll go through. And I've got a couple slides that we might want to refer to.
That's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and show your screen, or what's up?
I'm sorry, I had to mute. I was playing this stream. What did you just say?
It's all good. You want me to just go ahead and show your screen?
Yeah, whenever you're ready. Now, I wouldn't say right off the bat. We would kind of want to get things, do an intro. Gotcha. Talk about the tokens, so everybody's up to speed on what these are and all that. And then usually toward the end, we'll get into the calculators and demonstrate what they can actually do.
Okay, let's get it.
Okay.
All right. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for coming on through. We have 2 really important, amazing people. Guys, thank you so much for pulling on through. I know this is, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't even expect this live stream on the channel, and I hope a lot of people enjoy this type of content, the live stream. Anybody and everybody is more than welcome to have some questions. I'm pretty sure, we have some great curious viewers that don't even know about pTGC, that they don't know anything in general whenever it comes to even TA, which I'm about to cover throughout today. How are you doing, guys?
I'm doing good. How are you, Zen?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to come on here and educate your viewers on pTGC and UFO, and hopefully maybe educate you a little bit too. If maybe, I know you know the product a little bit just because we've talked in the past, but maybe during this discussion, there's something that becomes new information to you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I've been watching and reading a lot of Twitter posts, a few YouTube videos. I've even seen some posts from Crypto Kindness as well, pushing out that good screenshots of what's going on. Now, every single time I look at it, it's just higher and higher. Like, it's just some crazy stuff going on with UFO and pTGC.
Yeah, definitely. I think pTGC actually hit an all-time high today, which is awesome. Pretty much everyone's in profits. And then UFO is getting close to an all-time high. I'd say it's still probably 10, 20% down, but an all-time high against the US dollar, but is in an all-time high territory against PLS. So against the native token on Pulse Chain. So
that looks phenomenal. Like, this charge looks insane. Who would have thought? My goodness. 3 zeros and a 7166. And how many pairs are you so far with pTGC?
So there's a lot of pairs, not only by us, but a lot of people have like paired with us due to us being like in a way of store of value that's appreciating on chain. So it makes sense for other people to pair with us because via Hart's Law or bonded liquidity, we're also dragging other people up as well. But we have, easier to say, we have roughly $10 million in liquidity with pTGC, and it's mainly within 10 pairs, and then there's a bunch of others that are smaller. And then UFO has, I believe, 17 million today in liquidity. So our ecosystem combined, pTGC and UFO, has, I believe, 25 to $30 million in liquidity right now.
Them numbers are no joke. That is some actually many projects in general wish they could even achieve 5% of that, 10% of that. So the fact that you guys are doing so it speaks true numbers right there.
And pTGC's is majority protocol owned and majority burnt as well. So it can never even be removed from the system. Just so you have a little background on that, UFO actually has a farm built within the token. So pretty much all that liquidity is supplied by our own community itself, which is a lot of tokens, right? Like a lot of fair launch crypto have all of the liquidity or most of the liquidity provided by the community wanting to earn APY via liquidity providing. UFO is pretty much a community like that, but they're incentivized with rewards via the farm to do so. So that's kind of why that's so large, is a lot of people are getting extra rewards for providing that liquidity in our farms.
Okay. The first question we have today is from Ben that says, why create the UFO after pTGC? Which would you recommend for new buyers?
I try to not just straight recommend. This is what I always say to people, is they operate off of the same value generating system, which we're going to go over in this conversation. So the mechanic that really drives these tokens, that gives them price appreciation, deflation, and stability, they have in common, right? But they both have two different features, and you kind of can look at these two different features and decide, does any of these features stand out to you as a person? Because we all have different things we're kind of looking for in a token, or we like to do as a person. And if one of these stands out for you, I think you can answer your own question. And if you really are someone who doesn't know, then I don't think it hurts to go 50-50. The things that they have in common is this liquidity web dynamic, where it generates value from outside sources instead of inside sources, and uses that value that it generates to keep buying and burning the token to appreciate the price over time. And that value isn't coming from actual buyers on the chart. It's coming from a utility that isn't human dependent. It actually operates just mechanically. So we don't even need human interaction to buy our token for it to go up. And that's what really drives these tickers. And that's, in a way, what's making them trend up and to the right. But the thing that makes them different is pTGC operates more off of a single staking mechanism, or a single-sided staking mechanism, similar to how Pulse X was going to be. If you know Pulse X, before it launched, it was supposed to have single-sided staking with a highly deflationary token, right? Well, pTGC is that. It's a highly deflationary token that buys and burns itself off of market volatility and volume. And you can single-sided stake it and earn a competitive APY with no impermanent loss. You don't get hit with impermanent loss because you're not providing liquidity. Where UFO, you can just hold it and earn APY just for holding. And actually, the APY is extremely competitive just for holding. But if you're a big liquidity person and you like farming, UFO has a whole farm built into the code, and you can earn additional PLS rewards for farming. So I kind of look at it, if you're more of just a holding kind of guy and you just want a single-sided stake and earn off of the protocol's liquidity, well, that's perfectly fine. pTGC might be a little more appetizing to you. But if you're a big liquidity guy and you like farming, UFO might be a little bit more appetizing to you. And if you like both of the features, getting both doesn't hurt as well.
Great response. That was great.
And they're both like, because they're bonded with RH tickers and moving up against all those, the cream of the crop, the blue chip assets on the Pulse network, they're essentially, I think you mentioned this, Zen, they're like a claim check on the assets that they're bonded with, including the layer one, the Pulse chain, the Pulse token.
Yeah, no, that's a great point to bring up. So, like, one of the processes in the design of this protocol was to not only look at all like successful blockchain assets, but also look at successive in real life assets. What actually gave value to things in the real world, as far as scarcity, as far as being an actual asset to put your fiat into an asset so you're not getting constantly inflated against. And when you are getting inflated against, if you are in the right assets, you're actually moving up as well. So one thing, for an example, that's the biggest sector out there is finance. So it makes sense to be going after the finance store of value sector, which pTGC and UFO are pretty much stores of value on chain. But one of the things they try to capitalize the most off of is the index sector. So a lot of people don't realize that in assets or in stocks or in commodities, the index sector is one of the biggest sectors. being able to own all by owning one, right? So pTGC and UFO are actually an index of Pulse Chain by not the standard way a blockchain index works. So a standard blockchain index buys a bunch of tokens and then they hold these tokens for the people. But how we capitalized on the index utility, but not in the same faction, we bond ourselves with all the blue chips on chain. So now we not only are holding them in our own liquidity pools, but we get moved up and down with them as the market fluctuates. We get to capitalize off of that market movement, and we actually get an average or a mean of everything we're connected to as far as our own personal growth, plus our own performance as well.
So Cryptowity King, if you wanted to, on your chart, click on next to USD, click on WPLS, and you'll see pTGC in over to your right. There you go. Now you will see pTGC priced in PLS terms. And we just broke 1-to-1 with PLS on August 26th. And we're now we're close to 14 now. I mean, you talk about an impressive price chart. Well,
that alone is wow.
And keep in mind too that Pulse Chain right now it's half of SAC price.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of this has happened over the last 15 months while Pulse has been going, pretty much sideways. What's going to happen when that layer one wakes up?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't really understand how liquidity pools work, but they're pretty much just ratios. So for an example, if you take out all the externalities of people buying and selling, and also in our case, we have other liquidity pools, but if you look at just the basic layer of it, you're bonded with something. So let's pretend for an example, on August 26th, we were 1-to-1 with Pulse Chain. Right now we're 13 Pulse Chain to 1 pTGC, but for this example, let's just say we're 1-to-1. Well, if Pulse Chain moves up 10x, well, that would automatically move us up 10x because ratio-wise, we are 1-to-1. The reason people don't realize this is because of the external forces like buying, selling, or other liquidity pools moving you whatsoever. So the interesting to think about is Pulse Chain hasn't moved at all. It's actually close to the exact same price it was when pTGC launched. But we've already done hundreds of X's against Pulse Chain. Just in the last, I think, 5 months, we've done 13 X's against Pulse Chain. But once Pulse Chain starts moving up, it's going to drag us up even more. And what we've actually seen is last time Pulse Chain went up 4x, our system went up 40x. Because our system actually gets turned on when the blockchain starts moving upwards. And we can actually show you this in a chart. Banana, if you want to pull up that chart where it shows us moving when Pulse Chain moves.
Yep.
But why it does this is we are a volatility and volume-based protocol. Since we're attached to pretty much all the assets on Pulse Chain or all the blue chip assets, when they move up and down, they create market maker opportunities within our pools, and then the market makers move money within our pools, and then we charge those market makers a fee for going within our pools, and then we take that fee and we buy our chart with it, and we pay APY to holders. And that's what we actually rely on, is our utility is actually the only guarantee that markets give people, the charts moving up and down. All we need is for the charts to move up and down, and it actually turns our utility on, and we make revenue off of that. A lot of people create utility-based protocols, but they don't realize that they still need someone to use that utility. So you're banking on a human to use your utility, and a lot of the time, these utilities don't even need to be used. They're just slapped onto the side. So what we did is we created a utility that isn't based on human interaction, but off of mechanical interaction. So we don't need humans to interact with our system for it to generate revenue. And as Pulse Chain goes up, for an example, we have roughly $25 million in liquidity currently, But let's say Pulse Chain does a 10x. Just from Pulse Chain doing a 10x, that would make it to where our liquidity pools would be worth $250 million. At $250 million, we wouldn't be one of the biggest assets, not only on Pulse Chain, but in all of cryptocurrency as far as tokens go. And most tokens don't make revenue off of their liquidity. It's solely there just for users to enter in and out of the system. It's a market maker. It's for literally people just that make the market themselves. But what our system does is it puts that revenue to work 24/7 hours a day, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's generating value for the system. So just like anyone would tell you, like once you make it in life, you don't just shove that money under the mattress. You want that value to work for you. You want to be earning APY off of that value. So our system, whenever someone enters the system or we add LP or anyone's holding this token, all of that value is actually working for them and for the token price. And that's what kind of creates this system where we continue to trend up against the blockchain.
I'm ready to share that image whenever you
Yeah.
are.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I don't have this on like a proper. This is part of a slide deck, and I haven't figured out how to show just this one single slide yet. But what you see here is, let me put my cursor over here. You see in the gold pTGC UFO in this blue. Down here is Hex, and then PulseX, Pulse, and Ink down here. And if you'll notice, like when Hex moves up, the Gray's currencies increase like at an exaggerated rate. And then look at it over here. Hex pumped a little bit more, and the Grays pumped like exceeding more. And this is from August to date, to today, basically. One of the guys dropped this in the chat earlier this week.
Wow. Now that is insane.
Isn't it? I mean,
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize, but like they look at our chart and they're like, wow, they're doing great. That's amazing. But what no one really realizes is the machine is just in idle mode right now, because Pulse Chain is still an unfavorable environment to our system. Our system actually gets turned on when Pulse Chain starts to go up. And since our inception, Pulse Chain is pretty much the same price we've launched. We've seen little glimpses of what happens when Pulse Chain starts to move up, but then it comes down, obviously, and kind of consolidates. But I'll use the word if Pulse Chain turns on, it actually turns on our machine and amplifies our system due to it being a volume and volatility based protocol, and we earn revenue off of that. And we'll kind of go over what those numbers can actually turn out to be and what they are today and what they could be in the future off of a successful Pulse Chain blockchain.
Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, we can do it now too.
Do you want to review that? Zen, do you want to review that other slide with the 128 million in buy and burn?
Yeah. And then just pull that slide up and I'll kind of give a background to this number. So like today, for an example, both pTGC and UFO are around $500,000 in volume. So that's how much volume we've had in the last 24 hours, and we earn revenue off of that volume. And what we can actually predict can happen due to our system, since it's a lot of that's mechanically driven volume, is as Pulse Chain goes up, our liquidity goes up. So then that means our volume will go up, because now the market makers will need to move more value across our pairs to fix the ratios between the pools. Because the bigger the liquidity pool is, the more money it takes to fix or to move that chart. So for an example, today we're at roughly 500K in revenue or in volume, but let's say Pulse Chain does a 20x, and some might say 20x is a lot for Pulse Chain. For me, that's a 10x above SAC rate. I don't think that's an out of the question number, right? So what we can actually do is we can 20x the volume that we are getting today and predict the amount of buy and burns that we will be having daily and yearly in the future if that volume is maintained. And that's kind of what this this little snip that Prairie has pulled up is projecting. Go ahead, Banana.
Okay, so what this is simulating is, or projecting, is burning $128 million worth of this token in a year. It could literally happen, but we'd have to have 10 million, an average of $10 million of volume every day. So the DAO, 2% of the fees go to the DAO, and that could be that would be out of $10 million, $200,000. pTGC burns 0.5% or $50,000. UFO burns 1% of pTGC, $100,000. So the yearly total, in theory, could be $128 million of buy pressure sent to the dead wallet, where it can never be recovered. That's impactful.
Yeah, whenever it comes to numbers like that, like even the comment where the Crypto Dave said that these will not be sub-cents anymore, they'll literally be dollars. Like whenever them numbers pop up, if it was to occur, yeah, that's where dollars per coin would probably start happening.
And truly, this probably, I'm guessing this scenario wouldn't happen, but what it illustrates is the power of these machines and the ability, having the ability to do that. Probably won't, maybe won't, but we have the ability, and that's just enormous.
Yeah, it's still crazy.
Yeah, so one of the important, it's 100% possible for us to get. Mm-hmm. So let me get through this. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So what I find so fascinating about this is it's 100% possible, right? That's only a 20x on Pulse Chain from here. So if you believe Pulse Chain is going to do a 20x, that $128 million buy and burn yearly is 100% in the cards. If Pulse Chain does more than that, then it becomes more likely in the cards. But what the impact of that could be is actually crazy. Are you a Hex, or were you a Hex guy at all at one point?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into Hex pretty much on day one.
So do you remember how when the God whale came into the system, how big of a deal that was, that there was this whale buying and technically never selling the tokens?
Yeah.
Well, the first big entry point that he came in at, he bought $2 million worth of Hex, and he did a couple more smaller buys. And that's pretty much all he bought. Only $2 million worth of Hex, and it was that big deal. What we're talking about here is not a human interacting with the code and doing this benevolently. What we're talking about is being reliant on code. We're talking about a system that mechanically could buy $128 million worth of an asset and never sell it again. And not just do that once, it will do it for the rest of the existence that Pulse Chain exists. And yeah, the number 128 million isn't guaranteed, but what is guaranteed is on every single transaction that happens within our system, there is a portion getting bought and burnt for the whole entire existence of ever.
Do you want to go on?
Yeah, and I was pretty much saying, so pretty much we have our own form of a God whale in our system, but that whale is written within code, and it happens within our smart contract. Is my ending piece to that.
Do you want to look at the moon math calculators, Crypto Audi King? Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it. I'm down.
Well, I don't want to interrupt. If you got questions, or your audience has
I'm good.
questions,
I'm just mind blown, actually. I'm more mind blown than lost.
Okay, I'm in love with one of these calculators. I don't know if you know Crypto Kong, but he built these for the community. And
Dang.
So look into ptgc.com. There is free stuff on here, and there's stuff you got to pay for. It's like $24 a month. And we're going to look at some of the stuff you pay for. 3, we're going to look at the moon math. You guys can see my screen. Okay, cool. And the reflections, and then
Banana, just so you know, you haven't switched to the look into pTGC site.
Can you guys not see it?
No, we're still looking at the burning 128 million pTGC.
No, it's there. The reflection analytics.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I had my screen minimized and it didn't change.
Okay.
No problem. And then we're going to look at one that I'm super excited, which he just built in the last week. Literally in the last week, he built an unlock calculator. Wait till you see this crypto Addy. I'm about to come unglued, man, about some of the stuff I discovered today, man. I'll show it to you guys. So we'll start with the moon math, pTGC to pulse, and this is going to simulate. Go ahead.
Real quick, Banana. If you can give him just a background of how this X multiplier works, because actually a lot of people don't know about the X multiplier and how you can actually utilize the X multiplier if you have a sustainable system to do a ton of X's. Sure.
Yep. So we'll talk about the X where you see X factor, that's the X multiplier. And what that is how much do we think that pTGC will move up against Pulse Chain in this scenario that we're going to input. And I'm going to start with a very modest 2x. Mind you, we have done nearly 14x since the end of August, or this token has. Okay, so we're going to put in 2x, and then we're going to set this to a modest 10x, meaning Pulse Chain does a 10x from here. pTGC moves up against it at a 2x. We'll calculate and see what pTGC could be worth, or would be worth mathematically. And it would be a 20x or a 1.4 penny pTGC. Now, let's do a 5x. Now, we're not doing 14, mind you. We're doing a modest 5 still. And then we're going to make this a 50x. So Pulse Chain moves up 50x. That would be a 250x on pTGC, or an 18-cent pTGC. Congratulations to everybody that got in early. And by the way, I think we're all here early because Pulse Chain hasn't even started to move yet. Now let's kick it up one more notch to 10. X factor 10. And let's say Pulse Chain does 100x. I haven't actually looked at this to see what kind of answer we're going to get. 1,000x would be 1,000x, 72-cent pTGC. And the same numbers would basically apply, except for the actual cents. The same numbers would apply to UFO if we did the same X factors and X's on PLS.
Dang.
Yeah. So just to give you a little background, is the X multiplier, that's my coined term for it. I'm sure someone else has kind of figured this out before and has their own other way of saying it. Richard Hart calls it reflexivity. But what it actually is it's a multiplier that whatever X's you do against the blockchain, for an example, since August 26th, we've done a 14x against the blockchain. You get to multiply the X's you do against the blockchain by whatever X's the blockchain you're built on does in that same time period. So currently, Pulse Chain's done nothing since August 26th. So it's only a 14x, right? Like we've done a 14x. But let's say in the scenario of, let's say in this next year, we do another 14x and Pulse Chain does just a modest 20x. And this is all it is. And this is called the X multiplier. And actually, no one understands this is how liquidity pools and these decentralized V2 markets work. And it's just that a lot of people say like, oh, our protocol is going to do 100x, but they don't actually understand mechanically how to do that and how it's possible. Do you want to put those numbers in real quick for me, Banana?
I just did. That'd be a 280x or a 20-cent pTGC.
Damn.
So, and then what I just explained, like those are two very, very modest things, but working together, it can actually make it to where your protocol can very simply do a lot of X's, right? And that's why most people are here, is to increase the value of their assets, or the assets that they're in. And we're just finding out how to do it, or we figured out how to mechanically drive this and operate off of being on an undervalued blockchain and use it to our community's best interest.
When is that whole, or any update with the situation with Richard Hart?
It should be any day, honestly. I
Yeah.
think that the judge is supposed to give out some information within probably weeks, but honestly, with Trump coming into office, he's putting out tons of information on this exact like situation that pretty much is saying that the case is going to be dismissed, which is super, super convenient, obviously, for Richard Hart and our ecosystem.
It sure would be.
In the perfect world, that would be crazy.
Yeah. And that's kind of like one reason why I'm like really getting like excited about where pTGC is because we've had a year and a half to actually see this machine operate and what I believed it could do, and it's actually doing it. So mechanically, what I predicted, since this is like the first time this has ever been done, it's all coming into fruition. But the one secret piece of the formula has yet to be put in. So it's still giving tons of people the opportunity to find this protocol and actually get to capitalize on its success. Because the honest truth is the machine hasn't even turned on yet, because the X multiplier hasn't even been turned on yet. All the X's that we have done has just been one side. Now, if PulseChain just does any part with it, those get to be multiplied by everything we do in the future. And that's where the real gains will be made, in my opinion.
Okay, so the next calculator is a reflections calculator. And we're going to do 3 scenarios for each token. And this calculator only shows reflections. You can stake pTGC, it's not going to show you that. You can lock pTGC, it's not going to show you that. UFO can be LP'd, it doesn't show you the LP rewards, only reflections. So we're going to set it to a very modest $1 million in volume for pTGC, which we've already done. In December, we did $1.2 million in volume, so very modest. And this calculator is going to show you how much this wallet would earn over a year. So that'd be 2% APY. I haven't even seen it that low. I have not done this calculation yet. So this shark, which is an $875,000 position, would earn $17,000 a year if we averaged $1 million in volume every day for a year. He'd earn $17,000. Now let's Banana, please. Keep in mind that this is only reflection. So if you're an APY person, you're most likely going to also single-sided stake and possibly lock. And single-sided staking increases your APY by roughly 160%. So you wouldn't be receiving 2% APY. You would actually be closer to more the 5% APY side, which is not like some of the highest numbers that you can get. But the important thing to realize is this APY being paid out isn't based on inflation. It's being based on tokens getting actually bought out of the existing liquidity pools and then sent to you. So actually when this APY gets paid out, it's actually pushing the price of the tokens that you currently hold up, which is best case scenario, right? Like what you're receiving more in is actually getting pushed up while you're holding it. So staking would be 165% more than this, and locking would be 230% more than just holding. So let's look at a $10 million volume scenario. 20% APY This shark, and we should go down and look at some of the smaller creatures, would be earning $171,000 per year, holding only, reflections only. 165% more for staking, 230% more for locking. And that's based on a test lock that I have. That's off of a year's worth of data. It's not, it's probably going to be close, I would guess, over the next year, but we just have to wait and see. Let's look at some of the smaller creatures, like a dolphin position right now costs $21,000. Reflections only, it would earn $4,000. And you can kind of do the math to figure out what it would earn for staking and locking on top of that $4,000.
Yeah, so I kind of like this $10 million volume number because, for one, that's a 20x on Pulse Chain from here, not even probably including like us doing X's against Pulse Chain at the same time. But also, when we use this $10 million number, we also saw in that previous slide that that was a buy and burn of, what was it, possibly $128 million a year. Mm-hmm. So not only are you earning, what was the APY for staking at that volume level for Banana? For staking.
Well, it's 165% more than holding. Are you referring to the slide?
So yeah, so it's roughly 50% APY. So you're holding an asset, you're getting paid 50% APY for holding and staking that asset, single-sided staking it. Yeah. And then also, while you're holding it, the system could be buying and burning $128 million of that asset while you're being paid that APY. So then what's happening? Naturally, it becomes sustainable, and possibly the price keeps appreciating because you're holding it, because that amount of buying and burning is happening. At $10 million of daily volume, the amount of revenue that this machine would generate within 1 year would be $182 million. And if you think of any business out there, right, the business that can generate $182 million, what is the overhead expenses of this business? What does this business have to make in payroll? Tons. This system actually operates autonomously and decentralized on the blockchain with no overhead.
So a dolphin position at $10 million in volume would earn, monthly $343. Reflections only. And that's just a dolphin position. And that's only at $10 million. Let's look at $50 million in volume. The APY increases to 98%. This shark position would earn $858,000. Reflections only. Let's look at the dolphin. $21,000 position would earn $21,000 in tokens in yield. Reflections only. If you staked it and locked it, obviously be more than that, but that's at $50 million in volume. UFO, let's do a modest, sorry for scrolling so much, $1 million in volume. It would be 8.55% APY. And this shark position would garner $7,000 in annual yield. But UFO just did $2.4 million in volume on 1 day in December. So I don't think we're going to, once things get hopping, I don't suppose we're going to be averaging $1 million a day. I hope quite a bit more. So let's kick it up to 10 million. That's 85% APY. And he would earn $68,000 in a year, reflections. Let's look at the dolphin. Dolphin bag is $6,500, and he would earn $5,500 in a year at $10 million in volume. Now let's go moon math, and $50 million in volume. I bet a bunch of your viewers can do all this in your head. Let's go to the dolphin positions. A $7,000 bag earning $27,000 in a year at $50 million in volume. Is that making sense, Cryptowdy King?
Yep, I'm with you.
All right.
I was looking at the chat because Arnett was like that he burnt $30 of ETH Zen, and even though he sold 60% of it over time, he still has a crazy bag.
Yay. Good job. All right. Well, let's look at this unlock calculator. This is the one that's got me all excited today. I should drop my tweet. I tweeted this earlier. Well, maybe I can pull it up. I can probably pull it up so I can talk more about it. But let's just go through the raw numbers. So there's 136 billion pTGC in locks. It could be 90-day locks, 5-year locks, 10 years, just various locks. But any one of those locks, if it is ended early, pays a 30% penalty. And we suspect that as number go up, people are going to be very tempted because pick too early unlock. Because imagine you pay $100 for some pTGC, it's now worth $1,000. Well, I'm willing to do $300 because I'm still 600 ahead at the end of the day, right? It's going to be very tempting. So there's 136 billion locked up. We're going to what this does is simulate how much a 30 million, and you can adjust these numbers. This is a dolphin position, 30 million tokens. And this is my position, say 30 million tokens, just 2 dolphin positions. This guy's going to unlock. So you enter your unlock amount and then you enter your forecast price and then how much you're going to take home. Well, if you're a 10-year locker, you're going to take home 100%. If you're a 90-day locker, you're going to take home 55%. But I'm just going to, for the example, I'm going to do 100%. So dolphin is going to unlock. I'm a dolphin. The price is now 10 cents. That'd be $660 that I'd be taking home. Now, if the price goes to $1, well, I'm now taking home $6,601, which makes it really juicy. I want to look up this. I want to pull up this tweet that I made. So if you give me a second, I will paste it over here. All
right, Cryptowdy King, bring the questions because I know we're probably just throwing a bunch of numbers at you.
Well, so far it's looking pretty solid. What gave you the idea of all of this though? Like, what inspired you to come up with this?
So, I'll kind of give you the whole backstory. I've pretty much owned a business for 10 years now. Roughly 5 years into the business, it started doing very, very well or decently well, to where I started investing, obviously, some of the money so I can have the money that I was making work for me, so I didn't have to work for my money as much, right? This is the American dream in a nutshell. You get enough money to have that money work for you, so then you don't have to trade your time for money, and your money just is making you money. But what I actually came to the conclusion of is in the traditional markets, a lot of the gains that are being made are actually just from the inflation of the dollar and not from the assets naturally going up that much. So yeah, you are making some gains. Let's say it's 10%, right? 20%. But if the inflation is 10% that year as well, you actually made nothing. So I had to find assets that were a little bit more speculative, but that you could make more gains on. And that's what brought me to the crypto sphere. Started with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I had a family friend who was a day one hex guy. And this day one hex guy put me down the rabbit hole of Richard Hart and DeFi. And I fell in love with DeFi, hex, and honestly, Richard Hart and the teachings he was kind of doing, because he was pretty much, he has a bad rap by a lot of people, but the honest truth is everything that he is talking about is actually true if you get over kind of the showboat. And I loved it. And I went down that rabbit hole and I was like, okay, I'm here. What other amazing financial instruments exist on the blockchain? Because I have this list of checkboxes that I'm looking to find, and Hex checked a lot of them, not all of them. So then I started looking throughout crypto, and then I was like, okay, well, let me find like this financial instrument that lives on the blockchain that I've been looking for. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I could not find it. everything I was finding that was actually a decent decentralized financial instrument already had VCs or inside people in it, and it launches at already a multi-billion-dollar market cap, or it's in the crypto casino and it's just a rug pull. And I didn't come to crypto to gamble. I came to crypto to invest. I'm not a gambler person at all. So what I actually started spending my time doing is studying hundreds of different products, and I looked at what made them successful and what made them fail. And this is on blockchain side, right? But I also looked at real world assets. So I looked at what gave things value in the real world for the last 1,000 years, because we don't actually need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to put air and rubber around it and make it a smoother ride. And I actually realized that by taking all of the teachings that we've learned from thousands of years that give things value in the real world, mixing it with all the ideas that we have figured out in the last 10 years of blockchain, we could actually create an possible end all be all store of value financial product. And that's what the goal of pTGC and UFO are. Obviously, nothing is perfect, right? Like, I'm not saying these products are perfect, but I was striving for perfection within these products, and I was trying to check all the boxes that I personally had in a financial instrument where I could store value and get the X's that I was looking for and the APY. Because what a lot of people don't realize is they create these tokens or whatever, these instruments, and they do X's. And that's great. Like, cool, those went X's. But if you don't write APY in the code, those people eventually leave. Because if you make a lump sum of money, you're not going to let that money just sit in an asset that isn't earning you APY, right? Like, for an example, if you made a ton of money in a meme coin or something like that, not even a meme coin, but if let's say you turned $10,000 into $5 million, you hit it big, it was a really good token. Well, once you're sitting on that $5 million, you would want to put that money to work for you. If you could get that money to work for you, you would actually no longer need to work for money. So what I kind of realized is I could put the X's and the APY into one product. And then all I have to figure out is the sustainability side. And the sustainability side is actually a little bit tricky, because you can actually control the price of any product if you can control supply and demand. And in code, controlling supply is very easy, right? You just write it into the code, you make the quantity of tokens, you can make the token deflationary, inflationary, and that's how you can actually manipulate the price. But the other side of this chart is the demand side, right? This is basic economics. But the thing is, with crypto or any product that actually exists, human demand is hard to control. Humans are hard to control. They're emotional. There's always a flashy new object. And I found a way to control the demand side based on a mechanical situation instead of an emotional human situation. And when I found the mechanical situation to control the demand, it actually creates a scenario where you can control the price of the token. Not completely, because there is human interaction of buying and selling, and those are what creates like the huge wick ups and the wick downs on the chart, humans buying and selling, right? But we can actually control the overall like average trajectory of the system. And that was kind of the piece that was really hit home, because a lot of people don't realize within cryptocurrency especially is everything within the token is usually internal value. It's from users entering the system and then wanting something out in return. So in a way, it's a form of musical chairs, right? Like everyone's coming in and they're putting their chair down and the music starts going, and then slowly chairs get moved, but then the music stops, right? And then people are left without the chairs. But if you can actually get value to be generated from an outside source and then bring it into the arena, so you're putting more chairs out there than there are people walking around, when the day comes when the music stops temporarily, like volume slows down, etc., if there's enough chairs for everyone, it's okay, because everyone takes a seat and then the music starts back up again. You know, the good times, because every cycle breathes, it exhales and it inhales. So you just want to make sure when it exhales, when it needs time to consolidate, that you have enough chairs to let everyone take a seat and breathe. You give them APY, you pay out a few people that want to leave. But since you're actually generating value, you can actually consolidate yourself, the sustainability side for it, to push on to the next level once the market comes back in your favor. And that was probably a really long explanation of it, but
just a little bit. But hey, that's a great response, though.
Thank you. Yeah,
very incredible, man. Great job overall. Like, I'm super proud of what you have done, what the token has done, and everything. Not many projects can last a year and a half, let alone see the gains in a year and a half.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's the thing is, and this is like kind of the sad truth of crypto in general, is like I have a business outside, and to build a business outside of crypto, it takes years. It's usually not like there is some overnight businesses, but a lot of businesses take years of building to get them to the level where they're actually sustainable and they run on their own and you got all the clients, etc. Right? But you see, and you take years prepping for this business, right? Like you learn skills and you get ready and you kind of get the game plan going. With crypto, you'll see that people is for 2 months and then they come out with it and then they give it a shot for 2 months and then they're like, oh, that was it failed. You know what I mean? It's so what it actually creates is an environment where there's no real competition. There's no one actually spending multiple years studying how actually the world in finance works and trying to build a legitimate product with years of data, with years of hard work, and then tell themselves, like, I'm going to put years into making this product successful. Like I always kind of say, like, I kind of went the route is I told myself there was no going back. So I went ashore, burnt my boats behind me and said, I can't go home. I can only go forward. And when you kind of don't give yourself an option out, you make your way through the forest and you usually succeed. Most people always give themselves the exit out door and then they take it when the first issue comes about.
Rolando said, I locked pTGC for 5 years, 4 years, and 3. I was day one Zen burn for pTGC. Fumbled the bag, then got back in. Well, at least he got back in, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I think it's hard because a lot of how this crypto industry, since it is like the majority of people come here to actually invest. And then they end up in this crypto casino. That's like the crypto space like tricks them into it. And next thing you know, they're like gambling, right? They're now gambling. And then they hit one. Like, so it's kind of like you're digging through hay and you're digging in hay for that needle in the haystack. And they hit one and they get up 5x and what they've actually been taught is, okay, you're up 5x. You need to take your profits now. You're up. You need to now sell your bag and go move it over to the next product. But that's not necessarily the case. That's the case for all the hay, right? Like for all the hay, if you're up on all the junk and the gambling, that's good. Go get your assets into the next gambling pool. But if you actually find the next needle, the legitimate product, the best thing you can do is hold for as long as possible. Because look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum. It wasn't about when you found Bitcoin. It was about if you held on to Bitcoin.
That's facts. That's true.
Well, what else do you have? Do you have any other questions, Cryptati King? Any other aspects you want to discuss?
Any plans for another airdrop?
No, I have a lot of people always like, oh, are you building anything else right now? And the honest truth is I don't plan on building anything else unless I find another thing that's up to the standard of pTGC and UFO and also benefit pTGC and UFO. Because like when I created pTGC, I really didn't think I was going to create like another product that I want people to go into. I have created like amplifiers for pTGC, but those were for market makers to take advantage of and stuff like that. But when I kind of started coming across the idea of UFO and I was brainstorming it for a while, it just took a while to like get the last piece of the puzzle where I was like, that's it. That's how I'm going to do it. And when I felt the feeling of that, I knew what it was going to be. I knew how amazing of a product it was going to be, and I knew I had to start working on it. If a situation like that ever does come about where I like am kind of brainstorming, because I'm always kind of brainstorming, like, wow, okay, how this, but if I ever get to the point where something like hits and I'm like, that's the piece of the puzzle that we need in this ecosystem, I will start working on it, but it would have to be like at the same caliber of pTGC and UFO. It wouldn't be just something strapped on to the side just because of it, right?
Like a meme coin or some crazy thing.
Yeah, it's just I honestly believe that these assets are multi-billion dollar assets, and I am not willing to put my name on something that's not in that caliber and kind of work off. Like, these systems have never been done before. They're kind of brand new ideas, and I'm very happy to be part of these brand new ideas of ways to use liquidity pools to generate value via indexes and whatnot. And for me to put my name on another product, it would need to be in the same caliber.
Arnett has a question.
Shoot.
Go ahead and shoot. What is it? Let's see.
She asked, or he, how come you haven't instituted this on any other chain like Sol or ETH?
So Richard Hart gave us a very, very unique opportunity. And the opportunity hasn't fully played out yet, but I believe we are coming close to the time where it is. When he forked over Ethereum, he also forked over all of Ethereum, and in my opinion, reset the clock. So he took all of the assets that already existed over them, brought them over here, and then not only that, he also in Pulse X, and then at that time, Hex was very, very affordable and still is very, very affordable. So I was looking at it as you're getting the huge store of value, which we're also a store of value, but the Hex store of value, Richard Hart's store of value. You have the DEX token that buys and burns itself off of market volatility. You have the gas token, which is pretty much Ethereum, just with cheaper fees. And then you have PDAI, which is the forked over DAI copy. You have all these assets. You pretty much got a reset on Ethereum, like building a product on Ethereum year one. And if you could imagine if you built a legitimate store of value DeFi finance protocol on Ethereum year one, what that would be today, you would have gotten dragged up a 10,000x ultimately, plus whatever x's you did against that. So you could imagine if you could have done a 100x and Ethereum did a 10,000x, well, you're at like a 1 billion x, right? Like, that's the kind of numbers that Richard Hart is giving us the opportunity of. And plus the fact the fees are so cheap here, so it makes it so the market makers have more opportunities to interact with our system. It's just, it felt like everything that needed to align to make this product as big as possible is aligned over here, to where, for an example, like, let's say Solana, right? Solana is like the hottest chain right now. But the thing is Solana's already done hundreds of X's, right? And that's an X multiplier that's already come and gone. I want to be building on things before the S curve even starts, not towards the end of the S curve, because then we don't only get to get our own X's before the S curve starts, but we get to also multiply by the X's of the thing we're built on when their S curve starts as well. And that makes maximum opportunity for growth.
I feel like pTGC and UFO is barely scratching the surface of what's true potential.
Oh yeah, it's being extremely suppressed due to Pulse Chain currently. The Pulse Chain is the exact same price it was when we launched a year and a half ago. So the thing is what is back, it's suppressing us, is also an opportunity. What this has actually given us is a year and a half to educate people on our system before the ship leaves the dock, right? We're able to get more people on board at these discounted prices because Pulse Chain is decreasing the actual value of our asset. Once Pulse Chain does a 10x, our asset 10x's. So now to get into this system, so I always look like this asset has value. There's $25 million of liquidity. It buys and burns itself rapidly, so it's hyper deflationary, and it pays you APY just for holding or single-sided staking it. So there's tons of value to be in this asset. By just holding the asset, it's a built-in miner. But you have to buy it, right? That's the only way you get to participate in this protocol. And by you buying it, you're increasing the price, which then increases the value of the whole entire system for everyone else involved, which is obviously beneficial. That's what you want. You want people that want to use the system to have to add to the system. And then when they enter the system, the value gets put into the liquidity web, and it creates that loop effect, right? And then it keeps on looping. But when Pulse Chain revalues, let's say 10x, well, for you to enter the system now, it now costs you 10 times more. So now it's 10 times more expensive for you to enter the system because the system is now going to be operating at 10 times the magnitude, right? So I look at it as, yes, it's been a little bit of like a suppression, but it's also been like what I believe the best thing for pTGC and UFO, because we've been able to build our web of liquidity at the bottom. They always say, so what this has done is it's like battle tested every bit of our community. It's made us so strong. So when the seas do get smooth, we sail so beautifully into the sunset with no hiccups.
Do you have any other comments or questions, Cryptality?
No, that's it. I think I'm breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's all good though.
Yeah, we still got a lot.
So far, I don't think so. I'm good for now.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm going to remove my shared screen. I think you had to. Oh, yeah. There we go. All right. Well, man.
Seems like I'm about to go buy some more.
We have streamed with.
Hey, if any questions come up, if you're diving deeper into it, if you have any questions, just shoot them over to me, because I really feel like all the information that I try to cram into like 1.5 hours is just like the tip of the iceberg, right? And as you start to really study the system, at one point it like is the gotcha moment, like, oh my God, Pulse Chain is suppressing this asset. Once Pulse Chain, or if Pulse Chain ever becomes successful, it's going to legitimately turn this machine on, and it's going to start buying and burning itself. It's going to be paying APY. It's going to be auto adding LP at such a magnitude that's never been seen before on any other blockchain, that obviously would probably bring in human interaction. I would guess, because it's a system because humans obviously want to be in a system that isn't dependent on humans, right? It makes them feel more secure because they are more secure, right? They're using a machine just like we use machines in the real world, right? So naturally human interaction will come. And once you kind of see and you figure out mathematically, like when you start running some of these numbers like we're doing with the moon math, you kind of put it together and like, oh my God, this thing is a monster. And the only way I get to capitalize on the value that this thing is going to generate is by owning it. And the only way I'm going to capitalize more of it is by owning more of it, right? Like it's as simple as that.
That is so crazy. And I know for a fact some of my subs still have probably some some PTGC and all that from the Zen that they burned, without even knowing it.
It's quite
Yeah, I
possible.
would say there's a few.
Yeah, a good handful. Pretty confident on that.
Yeah, my thing is if you ever find out you have it, spend some time and learn about the protocol, and I really feel that you're gonna want to stay within the system, because there's a lot of things in this system that brings sustainability to the system, and I think the chart speaks for itself, and it's just an amazing opportunity that people were obviously able to burn their Zen and get this asset that's doing quite well. So I welcome you into the community, and to whoever finds it, and I hope they stay.
And we have a Spaces Cryptati King every Saturday at 7 a.m. Pacific. So tomorrow morning we'll be on Spaces for probably an hour or two.
Oh, really?
We have 2 Spaces every week, 2 voice chats in Telegram every week with the founder, and then 2 AMA style presentation, ask any questions every week. So 6 community events every week for everybody to interact with the founder, myself, ask questions, all that stuff.
And that's really what a lot of communities don't really do that. And as well, like the founder, live stream, communicate with them, ask them questions, interact with them. A lot of other projects, would like to have that type of connection with the founder.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone is huge for a project, especially a crypto project. You don't want to invest $200 whenever you don't even you haven't even heard the voice of the founder. So that's actually really cool, really amazing. I'm for sure probably going to start doing some content of UFO. I've already been doing little bits of videos here and there of pTGC. And I know for a fact now I'm going to definitely start looking into it more. So expect more videos out of me. I do want to point out one thing. For those of you that are watching right now, there's probably a couple of you guys, not everybody, but there are a handful. I'm still going to point this out just in case. I'm not getting paid to be on this stream. We just decided this, Banana came up to me and was like, yo, let's stream. I was like, all right, bet, let's do it. It was just a quick little, 1, 2, 3 messages. Let's make it happen. And it's none of that stuff. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm not getting no coins, none of that stuff. Like, I'm here because I see potential. I've been seeing potential in pTGC and all that. And I just want to make sure that I let the viewers know, because if I was getting any sort of payment, I would 100% let you guys know. I would be transparent and I would be honest about it. And of course, YouTube guidelines I would have to say I'm receiving some sort of payment. So I just want to point that out there.
That's fair. Yeah. We really appreciate you streaming with us.
I want to do it again. When do you want to do it?
When do you want to do it?
Me and Banana. Yeah, me and Banana are trying to stream all the time. Like he kind of was just saying is we're doing 6 a week right now, just like privately between us. And then we're trying to add in as many other things as possible. So personally, if you wanted to do something every other week, we would probably show up and do something every other week, just to talk about, we love to talk about the activity, right? Like, we can keep educating on it. Like, that's what we do every single day. But we also can talk about the activity, because, the activity every day actually means a lot. Like, for an example, just today, I'm just going to pull this up. We kind of go over this kind of stuff a lot because users love to know like what value we're generating every single day, because it's different every single day. Just today, $20,000 of value has been generated by pTGC, and by UFO, $28,000 has been generated. And then we kind of go into all those little details, and we just kind of study it and see how the system interacts or reacts.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, man.
Yeah, thank you both for being here. It really does mean a lot. Every second of anybody's time is definitely very valued. And so we'll definitely have to do something, and I think maybe next week or 2 weeks, so that way we can have a little bit more fun. We can discuss updates, a little bit more technical analysis. That way the community can start growing, and some of my subs can slowly transition over, because you know how some people are. They stick with just one project and one project only, and like they really just hold on to it with dear life until finally they're like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to take a step into the next project, and slowly you have one here, one there, 10, 20, 50. So it'll take time, but I feel like we can make it happen.
I agree. I'm going to send you something because you mentioned about you're going to do some videos on UFO pTGC potentially. I'm going to send you something for your videos, and if you use it, fine. If you don't, whatever. But I'll send it to you.
You can send me the calculator and all that stuff too.
Okay, we'll do it, man.
I'm probably going to do a video about it tomorrow. And again, if I say it looks bearish and that if I think it's going to dump, don't be mad at me, okay?
I won't be mad, but I don't think you're going to say it's going to dump.
Oh, okay. All right. I see what you did there. Sounds good, man.
Yeah, one thing I would say is this is the thing you have to pay attention to with pTGC and UFO is not only pay attention to the pTGC and UFO chart, but also pay attention to our main liquidity pairs and where those charts are in their system, right? If they're overbought, oversold, because we are directly correlated with everything that we have huge liquidity pairs with. So a lot of times people will think like, oh, pTGC is a little overbought right now, and they're probably right? Like the chart is getting overbought, but they're not paying attention to like PDI, and PDI will be extremely oversold. So then right when we're starting to get to that heavy period where it's like, ooh, this is a little bit overbought territory, PDI will go on a rip and then just keep pushing us up and pushing us up and pushing us up. And this is kind of like the dog sled thing, right? Like with a dog sled, you have more than one dog. So if one gets a little tired, they kind of slow down a little bit, but then someone from the back end will kind of pick up where they left off, right? And you kind of work as a team to keep really pushing forward.
I like that. I'm going to use that one, a little heads up.
Yeah, or any team, right? Like if you're on a basketball team and one of your teammates is having a bad day, you just get a couple other guys to start picking up the pace and playing a little better, and you still win the game, because that's what matters, right? Is winning the game together as a team.
Awesome.
We're just doing that with code.
You do have something to say, right?
No, that was pretty much it.
That's it on your end too, Banana?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on through. And thank you, viewers. Oh, one little tiny thing I'm going to slip in here. Those of you that are watching and are new, that are just now discovering pTGC or UFO, if you do decide to invest, put in what you can afford to lose. But I always tell this about any project, whether it's new, whether it's been here, whatever. Create a dummy wallet. Have a fresh new wallet just in case, because you may never know. Not only that, but in case your main wallet gets hacked, all of your tokens in pTGC, are going to be there. So say goodbye to them funds. And we have showed you the multipliers in which it can do, and it would suck if it skyrockets and that wallet was the one that ends up getting hacked. So always make sure you connect to the right wallet. Make sure you diversify. You create fresh wallets. If you have to, send some pTGC over to another wallet so that you can have a backup plan just in case. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, man.
Just bear in mind on that note, just a note on that. Whenever you send pTGC from one wallet to another wallet, there'll be a 5% fee.
Yes, correct.
So you just want to be
I do remember that part. Yeah, thank you.
Bit me a few times.
If you want to do that 50 times, then that's on them.
You're a bad deal.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I don't suggest that. I was just playing around, guys. Sure. All right. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great night.
All right. Thanks, man.